Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. What's up, Badass Manifestors? Welcome back to the Badass Manifestor podcast. I am coming in today shook and moved by the interview that just took place with Kute Blackson. If you do not know who Kute Blackson is, your life's about to get 20 million times better because he is amazing. And I'm not just saying that, he is truly an inspirational speaker. He's a transformational teacher. He is an author of a bestselling book called You.Are.The.One and the Magic of Surrender. He's widely considered the next generation leader in the field of personal development and has been featured on Larry King, Fox, Friends, Dr. Drew, as well as Inc. magazine. He has been all over the place. And he's also this person that the mindfulness guru billionaires go to for advice. That's what Inc. magazine has coined him as. But let me just tell you, when we had our interview, he was spitting codes, code after code into my heart and soul. And I know that it's going to be the same way for you. There's something magical in this episode. There's something transformational. You will not be the same person that you are right now when you are finished listening to this episode. And that is no exaggeration. The way that he explains surrender, the way that he explains the process and power that happens at the quantum level when you are doing transformational work, it changed me. It really moved me in such a powerful way because that is what we do as a company at Quantum Coaching Academy. And it was just so incredibly powerful. And there's just codes. There's codes for you in this episode. The way that he describes certain parts about how the universe works and spirituality, it's ways in which I've never heard it before. And how rare is it to hear something that you feel like you know pretty well put to you in a completely different way that actually impacts you at a cellular level. That's exactly how I felt in this episode. And I'm just really excited for you to experience it because like I said, it's actually going to change you. You won't be the same person that you were energetically before you started listening to this episode. So get ready for a massive upgrade through this guest, this teacher, this electrifying interview. It's electrifying. And on that note, I just want to say one more thing because I think this is going to propel so many people forward. If you feel propelled after you listen to this episode and you are like, I'm so ready for this. I'm so ready to finally step into the Quantum Coaching Academy because I know so many of you have been thinking about it on the fence. I want you to know that this week is the start of the last cohort of 2023. So if you think about time for a moment and let's collapse it. Because if you are ready to step into this, why wait till 2024, right? You could be graduated by November. You could have all these skills and tools in your toolbox by November. And by that time, you will then be able to go quantum leap into 2024 with everything you need to skyrocket, to take the fucking leap into the business of your dreams, the lifestyle of your dreams, changing people's lives, making money, living in your purpose. It is all possible. I am literally living proof of it. And so many of our students have done the same. And so if that sounds like you, we start our kickoff call on Thursday. It is not too late to get in. And if you are ready to apply right now and hop on a call this week with our team just go to the link in the show notes or the link in my bio on Instagram, apply, book your call immediately, get on with our team, and we'll make sure it's the right fit and we'll get you enrolled. Okay? All right, get ready to be propelled by Kute Blackson. Okay, we are live with Kute Blackson. I'm so pumped to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those of you who may be brand new to you and are just kind of getting into your world by listening to this episode, and I was just on my story sharing about you a bit. What do they need to know about you? Who are you, and where do you come from, and what's your story? I
What's
just
my
did like
story?
three questions there in a row. I stacked questions.
Wow. Look, I help people transform. I've been doing this for 21 years or so, very intensely, very deeply, before there was social media, before there was Facebook. But to be honest, it's been my entire life. I was kind of born into this work in some way. Just to give a bit of background, I have 2 best-selling books. I speak, I travel, I teach, I do events, seminars. I help people connect with who they truly are and realize their infinite potential and live that fully and freely and powerfully in the world. But I would say a bit of backstory. I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana, my mother's Japanese. I grew up in London, I live in the US. So I'm from everywhere and nowhere. At any given day, people say, where you from? I don't even know myself, which is a beautiful thing because I feel connected to everyone. And as a young boy, I felt this, I don't know, I felt people very deeply. And there was always a part of me that wanted to alleviate suffering in some way. I just didn't know what that would look like. I just would feel people. And so as a young boy, some would say I had a bit of an unusual childhood. But for me, it felt very normal. I didn't think anything special about it. As a young boy, like my first memories were, I was a chubby kid and I remember being lost in the crowd and I saw this crippled woman crawling on the floor and she picks up the gravel, the sand that this man walks on, wipes it on her face and stands up, and a miracle, right? And so week after week, from age 6, age 7, age 8, I grew up seeing blind people see and deaf people hear and people stand up out of wheelchairs. The same man who's grabbed sand she picked up, right, would look at a person in a wheelchair and say, why are you in this wheelchair? Stand up, put his hands on them, boom, they would stand up. People would come in unable to see. The same man would put his hands on their eyes and sight was restored. And so this man was my father. And he was considered a miracle man of Africa. He was a spiritual kind of leader, teacher to presidents and heads of state in Africa and the continent. He built 300 churches in Africa, a huge church in London, hundreds of thousands of people in Africa, 4,000 or 5,000 people at his height in the UK. So I grew up in this environment, and what was a blessing was I grew up with this sense that anything was possible. I didn't think anything was special. It was just normal. And so that was a blessing. And so my speaking career began at age 8 because one Sunday, my father just threw me in the audience and said, speak. And now I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm an 8-year-old kid that was more interested in playing soccer, but words started coming out of my mouth and it was like channeling. And that began something really interesting. And so every few months, my father would throw me in the audience and speak. And that began a kind of relationship to communicating and speaking. And then I started sneaking into my father's office, and he had literally 1,000 books on his bookshelf. And that's when my obsession with personal growth began, around age 8, age 9. I read my first self-help book called Creative Visualization by a woman called Shakti Gawain.
I love that book.
It's one of the like OG books before The Secret, before all of that. And it was so, as an 8-year-old kid, like, wow, my thoughts are powerful. And thoughts become things, feeling, thoughts, power. I can create my reality. And so that turned me on so much that I became obsessed with reading. And everything from the Eastern mystics, people like Krishnamurti and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, to Western mystics of like Gurdjieff, to Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay and Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. And so from 8 to 18, I probably read 700 books just trying to understand life and who am I and the purpose of life. And so when I was 14 was a very pivotal moment. because I was ordained as a minister, and I
Mm.
was basically given the announced as the successor to my father. And my life was basically scripted for me, and no one spoke to me about it. But I knew my heart sank that day because I knew that this was not my path. And I
Mm.
knew that this was not my destiny. There was just a feeling. And I tried to fit myself for the next 4 years. I tried to fit myself into a box of who I thought the world wanted me to be. And I was becoming more miserable in the process. And so I was too afraid to speak my truth to my father, because my fear was, if I dared to be who I am, if I dared to speak my truth, then I would lose his love. I would be alone. I would be abandoned. I would be outcast. And like many of us, we hold back our light. We hold back our truth. We hold back our creativity. We don't pursue our dreams and goals because we're afraid. And so
Yeah.
for 4 years, I said nothing. But when I turned 18, everything shifted. And that was a massive moment for me that set me on the course today, because I looked into my future and I had a choice. And I think life is full of choice points. I had a choice. I saw that I could follow the expected scripted path, take over my father's church, be successful. But I saw that if I didn't have myself, if I didn't have my soul, my integrity, what kind of success is that, where you're living someone else's version for your life? That's not true fulfillment and happiness. And so I felt a calling in my soul that was undeniable to come to the US.
Mm.
I'm 18, 17 years old. I feel this pull to come to America, to come to
At
Southern
that
California.
point, where were you? At that point, were
I
you
was in
in London?
London. Yes, I was in
Okay.
London. And it was an undeniable, like, calling, go to America. And I wanted to go into this field of personal growth, and I saw people like Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, Chopra, like they were writing books, and they weren't doing it through religion or organization. And I thought,
Right.
I want to do this in seminar rooms and hotel rooms and write books. And so I had these visions. And sometimes what your soul guides you to do doesn't make sense to your logic or your mind. And what your soul guides you to do is not always convenient or comfortable. But I
Mm.
really believe through my lived experience that when you follow your soul and you are obedient to your soul without compromise, you will always be guided in the right direction, in the right place, with the right people, even though the route that you take may not be the one that you most expect. And so my soul said, go to America. So I knew I had to have that conversation with my father, which was I'd been avoiding it for 4 years. And I did. It was terrifying and scary, and I had a lot of fear, but I had the conversation. My father and I, we didn't speak for 2 years. That
Wow.
was heartbreaking for me, but I knew I was on the right track. And long story short, I ended up winning, literally winning, a green card in the
Wow.
green card lottery at the age of
God.
18. And that enabled me to come to the US with 2 suitcases, $1,000, and a vision and a dream. And knowing no one in Los Angeles, landed at Venice Beach, and my journey began. I went and found, many of the authors and teachers and that we've read about and studied with some of them. And a few years later, I wanted to, I won't bore you with the whole story, but I had reached a point where certain ideas of what I thought my life was going to be just
Mm.
wasn't. And I was trying to do a TV show at that point. And anyway, that's a whole nother story. We can get into that. But long story short, I decided I was going to travel, and I
Uh-huh.
was tired. And I decided, like, I'm tired of reading people's books. I'm tired of everyone else having these. I want to know my soul. I want to know truth. I want to know God. I want to know my purpose for real. And
Mm.
so I put everything in storage, broke up with my girlfriend, put everything in storage, sold everything, shaved my head, took a backpack, and I traveled. And I went to Thailand, studied with some monks, went to Israel, studied with some rabbis, walked the Camino in northern Spain for like a month, 900 kilometers. And then I ended up in India. And it was my time. I spent 3 to 4 months in India. And it was my time in India that really, let's say, cracked me open to
Mm.
another dimension of realizing who I am and my purpose in this life. And then I came back to the US and began, 20, 21 years ago, coaching people, before social media, before coaching was popular, began one person. And it was just out of a pure desire to help someone. I
Yep.
felt so free and I didn't have anything. I was homeless. I was broke. I had no relationship, no money, but I felt so freaking free. And my freedom wasn't based on anything. It was just like, I felt so happy. And people, like one person came up to me and said, "What's your deal?" And I started talking to that person, kind of coaching them.
Yeah.
They said another person. And then I created a kind of methodology of
Mm.
working with people. And it just honestly evolved and it became a specific process. And when I did this process, it was a 1 month intensive process. I called it uncoaching, where I took people through a process of kind of unconditioning themselves without
Yeah.
having to go
Unlearning.
unlearning, without having to like go to India and travel and shave your head
Yeah.
and put everything in storage. Like, how can I put that into a process? And so my client transformed. And then one person came, another person came, people started coming from around the world, and it just expanded into small groups and larger groups and larger groups. And years later, here we are. So that's the short
Woo.
version of my story.
I love your story. It is so inspiring, and there's so much in there that like I could dive into, but I just want to highlight something that
Yeah.
I think is really, really important. And that is that you said that it all started from this pure desire,
Yeah.
right? And I can relate to that so much because I relate to your story in so many ways. And it's that pure desire that is, I believe, the magnet. It's the
Yes.
magnet for everything. Because it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start this because I want to make money, or I'm
No.
going to start. It's just that you can't not do it. You have to coach with someone. That first person that came to you and said, "Coach me," you're like, okay, let's do this. I mean, I'm curious. Did you start coaching for free? Like in
Yeah.
the very beginning? That's
Yeah.
what I did.
I
Yeah.
just started coaching for free. I'm like, let's go. But I
Let's
soon realized that
People
people
don't
that
show
tend
up.
to coach for free don't take it seriously
Yeah, they
and
need
don't show
skinny.
up and don't commit to themselves. I'm like, I was just giving the stuff away. I didn't
Yes.
care. I was
Yeah.
giving it away and people didn't take it seriously. So I realized, well, I have to charge something. Otherwise, it's a disservice to me, it's a disservice to them. And
100%.
they don't value the process, and they don't value themselves, and they don't value their transformation. And
Couldn't
so
agree more.
so yeah, yeah,
But I
that's
think there's something to that in because you started doing it for free, you probably built that confidence in yourself, like, oh, I can do this. And then you started to value yourself more also because you were
yes,
realizing like I got this. And yeah,
yes,
there needs to be some sort of exchange for them to
yes,
have that value in their transformation and the whole
yeah,
thing there. So
yeah.
that's beautiful and amazing. And I love that you created your own process and framework and way of taking people through a transformation, because that in and of itself is yeah, it's what sets you apart, right? It's what, like from a business perspective too,
Yep.
it's like your signature framework.
Yep.
And I have a lot of people listening right now that want to create their signature framework, their coaching methodology. And so just
Sure.
take a note from Kute's book here, like create your own thing,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
let it evolve over time, because look what happened to you. It's like it started with one to many, to many, to many. And now I
Yeah.
mean, you've been on
They-
so many media platforms, interviewed by top. I mean, you're doing all of it.
yeah.
You've done all of it. So amazing.
Yeah. What people don't know, is when I was a kid, especially those that want to be coaches, I think a lot of people are, you have to come from service.
Yes.
And because, you're not dealing with clients, you're dealing with souls.
Mm,
And another person is entrusting you with their evolution, with their growth, with their souls, and your contact in their life, in their evolutionary journey, has the potential to transform, has the potential to heal, there has the potential to shift the course of not just their life, but their children and their entire lineage. And that responsibility, that is a sacred responsibility that for me I never took lightly. And so I think to really be successful, you said you have a lot of coaches listening, to really be successful as a coach, I think you have to come from service, and you have to come from love first and foremost, to really love the soul and serve the soul, because that is key. People feel that, it's
yes.
sensed. Those that are your clients will sense it and will feel it. And I think for me, that's been a key. Come from love, come from really being of service. And I think that's the foundation. I think if you do that, um, the money will come.
Totally.
The money will follow. The money will be a byproduct of the love and the commitment and the value that you bring to your people. But I will definitely say there's so many folks in the personal growth field, especially over the last years, because of social media and what have you, that are kind of like copying other people's processes and
100%.
become copycats.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, if you really want to be successful, that you listen to your soul and feel what is the unique gift, what is the unique expression that your soul is here to offer your people, that your soul is here to offer those that you have a soul contract with. There are souls that you have a soul contract with that need what you have based on your own unique expression, frequency, energy,
Right.
vibration, upbringing, childhood. And I think if you really dig in and go, what is it that I'm uniquely here to offer based on who I am? And you create your process and your brand and your everything from that, it will have a authenticity and a realness that those that are your tribe will resonate with and connect to. When I was a kid, we lived, but we didn't have a lot of money in London, growing up in London. So we lived literally in an apartment that was a part of my father's church.
Wow.
And my bedroom was so tiny. I mean, it was like the size of my bathroom, my little, one of my guest bathrooms now.
Yeah.
And I would sneak in the middle of the night into my father's church with the lights off. And I would, in the darkness, I would, maybe around age 11, I would speak and give seminars to the empty chairs.
Wow.
Imagine 11-year-old little Kute, right? In the pitch black, giving seminars to the empty chairs, just imagining people, hundreds, thousands of people being inspired. And I was just making up content, and didn't even know, but I was practicing and literally out loud giving seminars. And I felt this connection to souls. So I would say there's souls waiting for you. If you're listening to this conversation, there are souls waiting for your gifts that if you don't give it, you're doing them a disservice. And it's amazing because when I get into rooms now, when I do my events now, and I look at the people in the room, I look at the people in my retreats, I'm like, wow, these are the souls that I had an agreement with. And so I think, we have soul contracts and agreements with those we're meant to serve.
Ooh, that just landed right in my soul, in my heart. That was so beautiful. And it's so powerful when you're so passionate about being who you're meant to be here in this earthly plane that, you didn't have to make time to visualize speaking in front of all those people. It's like you had to do that. It's like, it's not something like, oh, today I got to visualize imagining being in front of thousands of people. It's like, no, you had to put yourself in that space to express that in some way because it was meant to be. Because of those soul contracts, which is, I feel that so deeply. It's so powerful. And I love the way that you put that. My question to you is, being in this space of transformation, I always feel like I'm the vessel and like the universe and God are working through me to, work through the souls that I'm meant to serve. And it's not me. Like, I have a problem taking responsibility for someone's transformation in that way. So it's like, what do you think really makes someone transform?
It's a very good question. I think there's a multi-leveled question. I don't think anything makes someone transform.
Okay.
So we set the context for the question, right?
Yeah.
Because I think here's what I found in 20 some years of working with people, and I've worked with people. I mean, I've worked with some of the hardest cases, of like people that have come to me and said, could I've been to like every seminar on the planet, and they were proud that they didn't transform. Could I've been raped and abused for the last 10 years by my dad since I was 8, to 18 every day, sexually, and like nothing has shifted. I was in a devil worshiping cult, and ritually, stuff happened, and so I've worked with every cross section. I mean, it's crazy. And what I have seen is people don't transform unless they really want to. People don't transform unless they are committed to. There is no transformation without intention and sincere commitment. And sometimes we don't transform because we have unconscious payoffs for staying stuck. And even though we do everything that looks like is the right thing to do, we go to the seminars, we read the book, but deep down, if we don't really want to transform, because we're afraid that if I transform, then, what will happen to my life? If I transform, then what would that mean for my relationship? If I step into the next level of myself, that means my relationship may not work. And so many times we unconsciously block our transformation because we're afraid of the consequences of what might happen. So we have unconscious payoffs. Yeah. So I think it's important that sometimes we look at, why do I not want to transform? And we start getting honest about all the reasons why we actually don't want to transform, even though we say we want to transform. I'm afraid of transforming because if I really transform, I know my relationship is over. And so I kind of like sabotage myself. I don't want to transform. And it's not always like, doesn't feel good to always say, but like, I don't want to transform and be abundant and have a prosperous life because secretly I feel guilty about leaving my family behind that is stuck in poverty, as an example. And so if we can start getting clear with what are the unconscious pairs of why I actually don't want to transform, put those on the table, bring that to conscious awareness, that can also sort of create an opening for a deeper level of transformation to acknowledge, I don't want to transform, and here's why. And so we don't transform unless we really want to transform. We have to want to transform. We have to want to be healed. And I really believe that we as coaches, facilitators, leaders, we are not the one that does the healing. We are not the one that does the transformation. Correct. There is an innate intelligence inside of us that knows what to do. It knows what to do. So if you cut your finger, for instance, you cut your finger, you don't have to do a special prayer, affirmation, mantra. There's an intelligence inside of you that knows how to heal. It knows how to heal. So if anything, my job, your job, our job is to, number one, hold the space.
Yes.
So to hold the space. Boom. Now, as coaches, you can only take people as deep as you've gone yourself. And you can only hold a deeper space as much as you've gone yourself. So if you haven't dealt with your sort of conscious, unconscious traumas, conditioning, childhood stuff, et cetera, and you're carrying a lot of sort of energetic, mental, emotional, unresolved issues within your own self, heart, mind, nervous system, body, frequency, energy, unconscious, then as a coach, the space you hold is going to be limited, or I should say contaminated, and is going to inhibit the depth with which your client can transform. And so if you really want to transform someone, number one, heal yourself. You can only take people as deep as you've gone, because the more you heal, the more open you become, the more your presence and beingness will hold a space to allow your client to go deeper, so that the innate intelligence of your client can now do the work. And so that's one thing.
Love that.
And so I think the more we can also get ourselves out of the way, the more the innate intelligence can do the work. And I think that's a really kind of key thing. When I would speak to my father, it's funny, my father and I were not very close. We didn't speak for many years. But when I was 21, 22, we finally started kind of making up sort of a bit, right? And I would ask my father, because he was a healer, right? I saw all these miracles happen. Like, I want to know the code. Like,
yes, what is the code? Yes,
I'm going to give you the code.
I want the code.
Let's go. Here's the code. I said, Dad, how do you do it? You know, in America, there's Reiki, there's chakras, there's all this complicated shit. What's the deal? And he said, and I was surprised. I give my dad credit. He said, I do not do the healing. I have nothing to do with the healing. I just get myself out of the way. I said, okay. It's God that does the healing. I said, okay. And he said, all I do is I see the perfection of
Mm.
this soul. I see the divine light perfection of who they are. And should that person choose to come into agreement with what I'm seeing and agree with that and come into that reality, and so long as it's in alignment with their highest good, the healing happens. And that's why I say you can't heal someone, make someone unless they want to. But if they're open to, if they want to, then I think that possibility is there. So I think as coaches, as healers, we have to just see the truth. I think one of the gifts that we can give people in general, children, right? Friends, family, clients, is I see you. I see who you really are. Many of our clients have become conditioned that they don't see themselves. They see
Right.
their, I'm not enough, I'm not
Their
worthy, I'll never
flaws.
make it, I'm my flaws, why I can't, and they've forgotten. But when they're in our presence, if we can so clearly see their soul, the perfection, the truth of who they are, then we act as a mirror to awaken, to instigate, to activate the true seeing and reality of what they are. And I think that can be an opening so that people can transform, but they have to want it. And there's a question I ask people at my retreat the first day, because I take people deep for, let's say, 12 days. I ask people, what do you want more than anything else? Here's a key question. If you want to transform, sounds simple. What do you want more than anything else? Most people say, oh, I want to heal. No, you don't. I want to be fit. No, you don't. I want to transform. You don't. What do you want more than anything else? Because if I took your head, put it underwater, and I kept it underwater for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. After about 3 minutes, I
Alive?
said, hey, Ashley, would you like some chocolate? Would you like $1 billion? No.
Nope.
What would you want more than anything else? Air, to breathe. If we want to heal and transform, like we would want air more than anything else, with a one-pointed intention, all of us was coherent, that's when the magic happens. But most of us, we don't. We want our comfort. We want our safety. We want to be loved and liked. We want our familiarity. You know, we want the life that we've built that is not really amazing, but it's kind of like, at least it's comfortable. We want that. You have to want to be free more than anything else, but freedom isn't free. It requires that you let go of that which is no longer aligned, that which is no longer a vibrational match. The challenge is we tend to hold on to what is no longer aligned out of safety, familiarity, comfort, self-preservation, not realizing we're blocking our transformation.
Wow. There's so much there. So much. Wow. I'm just downloading all those codes that you just unleashed. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. The way that you described holding space and being the mirror for our client, like that is it. That is it. And it is so powerful. And it's for all of us, even if you don't want to be a coach, right? It's
Yes.
all of us, even just to be that for the people in our lives. And it's like, the more we can clear away all of our own filters, all of our own limiting decisions, limiting beliefs, really just clearing those out of the way, it allows us to actually see each other, right? And to
That's
say,
the healing.
that's it.
That's the healing. Like a lot of people think that, oh, this technique,
Yeah.
got this certificate, this
Yeah.
technique. It's not the techniques that heal, and
Mm-mm.
it's not the techniques that transform. Techniques are great. I'm not saying don't study them as coaches, but there's a billion Reiki practitioners.
Yep.
There's a billion yoga teachers. There's a billion, EFT, human design, blah, 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 this healing modality. There's a billion of them. But
Yep.
why there's still so much suffering? Here's the thing. It's not the techniques that do the healing. The techniques are simply the vessel and the vehicle
Yeah.
that carry the frequency and the vibration of your consciousness. The techniques are, and the words are just an excuse for the silence of your being. And so the techniques carry the frequency of your heart, the frequency of your soul, And as healers, the more we free ourselves, the more we rest into the deep, unconditioned, transcendental, sort of like infinite reality of what we are, which is whole, perfect, and complete. Then when we speak, then when we facilitate the technique, the words and the technique carry that vibration of being. That's where the healing happens.
Oh, I'm obsessed because I don't know if you know this, but
No.
I am I've created a coaching certification, and literally this is why I believe that our coaches are so successful, because of the frequencies that are all infused into what we do.
Love
And
it.
clearing away all of that's in the way for you to actually hold the space. And when people graduate, it's not about the techniques.
Yes.
The thing that they say has transformed them the most, the one thing that they always say, is that they learned actually how to hold space.
That's the key.
That's it. So it's so powerful. This is just such a powerful conversation.
I love it.
So let's talk about something that I personally need right now.
Let's go.
Is surrender, more surrender.
Yes.
I know that's what your most recent book is all about. And I'm a new mama, if you didn't know that as well.
Yes.
And running a business, doing the work that we do in the world, and there's just a lot going on. And I think for so many people, there's a lot going on and we don't have control. I don't have control. So yeah, I'd just love for you to just shed some light on what is your philosophy around the art of surrender, like truly surrendering.
Yeah, it's a big one, right?
Yeah.
It's a big topic. So I'll share a bit and then we can go wherever we need to go. But what I would just say, just to set the context for the conversation around surrender, I think that, look, I will say that I believe that surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do. Bottom line, it's the most powerful thing that we can do. And it is the process of life and why we are here and incarnated in this human experience. We're here to ultimately surrender to what we truly are, which is divine and infinite, God, divine beings. We're here to awaken and surrender to that. Bottom line. And so, and I would say everything in life, every situation, experience, process, relationship everything in life is really conspiring to help us remember and surrender to what we truly are, our infinite nature. Sometimes we forget and we get caught up in all of this other stuff, but the bottom line, everything is serving and conspiring us to remember what we are and surrender to that. So I think surrender is the foundation of life. I feel as though it is the most powerful thing that we can do. It is the key to the next level of our life. To me, surrender is the real secret to manifestation, unlimited manifestation. It is the if you look at the really, like, it's the password to freedom. And if you look at the really great ones, folks that have inspired me, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, at some point, they all surrendered themselves to life, to God, to the divine, to the universe, to their soul's highest intention. In that surrender, they were able to transcend their human limitedness, ego limitedness, and tap into another dimension of life. And that's when life was able to use them and work through them and create through them. Even Jesus gave a code. He said, look, this miracle working, person, he said, it's not I that does the work. It's the Father that does the work through me. Father, Mother, whatever label you want to put. It's the Father that does the work through me. That's the code of true surrender, to get yourself out of the way. And so, look, in our culture, I think we have so many misconceptions on surrender. And like this idea that surrender is weak, that surrender is passive, that surrender is giving up, that surrender is waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you're going to be a doormat, you're going to be left behind, you're going to be taken advantage of, that you won't manifest your goals, dreams, and desires if you surrender. If you surrender, you're going to get less in life. And I'm actually saying, no, if you really understand the real essence of surrender. What if you didn't get less, but you got more? Like
Mm.
more than you could have planned with
Yeah.
your localized little limited brain, ego, mental capacity to imagine what's possible. What if you got maybe not what you expected, but better, but more? And that's why, for me, I say the magic of surrender, because magic is that which is beyond what we can even imagine for ourselves. And so surrender is to take the limitations off of life. So many of us, we have limitations. It's got to be like this. I got my soulmate has to look like this. It's got to be like. We don't realize that we're limiting life. And so surrender is to take the limitations off of life. Okay, it is to, let's say, let go of control. But I say that with a caveat, to let go of the illusion of control. Because I
Yeah.
think control in so many ways is an illusion. And so it's let go of the illusion of control. It's to let go of forcing, forcing things to be, forcing a relationship to be, forcing experiences to be. Is to let go of who we think we should be, what we think life should look like, so that we can be available and open. The old, I call it ego-based model for living and creating life, is all about know what you want,
Yeah.
be clear on what you want,
Yeah.
and make it happen. Which, look, you can manifest that way. You can manifest lovely things that way, but it will be limited, because a life that is created from the lens of the ego is not able to see the total possibilities of life. And you might get what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were, right? Only to realize that what you thought you wanted was not what you really wanted. It was a limited projection of what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. Many times our goals can be projections of unmet needs from childhood. And so for me, the question I invite people to ask is not, what do I want? Because until we get clear on who is I and who am I and what is the I, right? Then the I that we think we are, that is projecting goals, is often conditioned. So the question I invite people to ask is a bigger question. The question is, what is it that life is seeking to express from me? What is it that the universe, what is it that God, what is it that this innate intelligence, source of all creation, is seeking to manifest through me, is seeking to create through me? What is my soul seeking to manifest? What is the deepest impulse of what life is seeking to manifest through me? And then to allow yourself to just be open to that, to feel that, to attune to that. When you're fully open to that, then you can align your personality and your actions and your thoughts and your strategy and your marketing in alignment with what is true. That's when you're creating in an unlimited way, without limitations of mind and logic and ego and personality, which is conditioned by the past. That is sort of unlimited manifestation. And so for me, surrender is the password, is the real key.
When you truly surrender to that question of what does life want to manifest and express through me, is it something that you get the download for and move towards? Is it something that you decide? And then you align your goals to that, or you align your actions to that? Like, how does that show up?
So I think for me, the experience is sometimes what I sense and what I feel. Sometimes people think that sensing will be like crystal clear, like this is what you're supposed to do. And we're waiting for this very sort of like loud siren bell thing. Sometimes the download, the guidance, is a very subtle sensation, is a very gentle impulse, is a nudging that's so subtle. Just kind of like if you get still and don't project for a moment, you will feel the energy of life in its intelligent nature flowing in a direction. Like it's that's a flow here. It's moving. It's moving here. It's not coming from my logic, because my logic is saying do this, do this. Something is like kind of like go to Miami. Why? Just go. It's just moving in this direction. So I think it's important that we start feeling for that flow, to allow life to lead us. And I always tell people, you don't have to know when you feel the sense, it's a sense, you
Yeah.
feel the sense. Yeah, I should call that person. What about that seminar I was going to create? What about that mastermind? What about that online product? It just pops in. It can be very subtle, but I think what's important is you move in that direction. You
Yeah.
don't have to know where you're going. And here's what I tell people: you don't have to know where you're going to get to exactly where you need to be. There's an intelligence that knows. When you're willing to stop, the thing is, many times we block our flow because we start questioning. Well, what does this mean? And how does this do? And how am I going to make money? And what's going to do? And we start
Right.
trying to analyze, and which is another form of control, because the ego mistakenly thinks that if I can understand something, I can control something, and then I won't get hurt. So we now block the flow. Whereas the energy, if we can just follow that flow, the next step leads to the next step, leads to the next step, leads to the next step, leads to the next step. Because now it's not you that is creating as an individualized, separate doer. It is life that is creating. And so it can be a little vulnerable to create this way because the ego wants to be the one that did it. It wants to be the one that did it. It's funny. I wrote a book, my first book, You.Are.The.One. I joke with people. I say my next book is going to be You Are Not the One. You know, because when you start realizing that, oh, I I am not the doer. I'm not the doer. Then you begin to witness. It's like you start observing life happening. You start observing and witnessing life unfolding. You start observing the intelligence of life, God, universe, source, kind of unfolding and creating. And you start seeing how everything is getting done. And then you're participating in that flow. So does it look like you sit there and do nothing? No, you might feel the guidance, call that person. Boom, you pick up the phone and call. But it's not just you making it, you're working in sync with the flow. You're working in harmony with nature. You're working in harmony with the flow, right? And that's when you could say you start realizing, oh, it's not me that is doing the healing. It's not me. It's not me that's living. Life is living through me. That's when that next level of miracles and magic happens.
Makes so much sense. A small example of that is, my original intention for my podcast was for messages exactly like this to get out into the world. And I wanted to call in people that had codes such as yourself to share these messages in different ways with different expressions and different imprints. And I feel like you're part of that flow. Like I was called to reach out to people that I felt would bring that vibration into this airway. And I didn't reach out to your team, but somehow they reached out to me. And I feel like you're part of that. You're part of that flow. Like a simple example of that, right? Thinking about the original intention that was working through me. It was pure desire. It was pure, just a purity of bringing these messages out into the world and reigniting that within myself. And so the thing with that and everything you're saying, it doesn't mean that challenges are not going to arise as you're moving through that current.
Yes.
Right. So there's that. And I want you to speak on that. And then also, there was another part to that I wanted, but okay, speak on that first. Like when challenges arise as you're moving with the current.
Yeah, when challenges will arise, it's
Yeah.
just the nature of life. Challenges will unfold. Sometimes things won't manifest according to plan. Sometimes, and I would say, I've learned to thank God for the prayers that weren't answered.
Yes.
And so many of the things that, oh, it's a challenge, it's a roadblock. From the perspective of the ego, it looks a certain way. But the ego is not able to see the infinite sort of unfolding of what is happening in a moment. And so I think when things don't go according to plan, it's often grace. You're just not able to see it in this moment. And so what I would say is when you face a challenge or a situation and things don't manifest, usually a few reasons. Number one, the thing that you are pursuing or the goal that you are pursuing is not the most authentic goal that is in alignment with your soul's highest intention. Maybe
Yeah.
it's something that you think you want because your dad said, your mom said, life said, you saw it on Instagram, everyone else is doing it. And so that's what you're going for. But it's not in alignment with your unique soul's coherence, right? And so sometimes that challenge and roadblock can be a feedback from the universe to sort of course correct you a little bit because you're out of the flow. And so what we tend to do is we tend to force even more. And so
Mhm.
I'd say when you hit that roadblock or challenge or thing not happening, step back, breathe, relax. Step back, breathe, relax your energy, and go deep inside and reflect. What's true? What's authentic? This goal, is it true? Is it authentic? Because when you bring yourself into an authentic alignment with the goal that feels true, you will feel an internal connection.
Yeah.
Life will flow more. And then you hit another roadblock, and then you keep course correcting, you keep shifting your energy, you keep adjusting along the way. Success is not a straight line. And so sometimes the goal we want is not necessarily in alignment with our highest intention. So that's
Yeah.
one. Number two, sometimes it's just not time yet. It just actually may not be the ripe season yet. Like you had a kid, you
Yeah.
might say, hey, I want a kid. I'm 2 months pregnant and I want to meet my kid now. It doesn't work that way. It's like what, 40 weeks, 40 some weeks, 39 weeks.
Right. Or infertility, right? We had infertility for
Yes.
3 years. It was not the time.
It was not the season yet.
It was not the season.
It
Yeah.
was not the time yet. So we have to learn how to sort of, again, what we tend to do when it's not time is we tend to contract. Our energy contracts. That we don't realize that contraction, that impatience, that desperation repels what we want.
Yeah.
Pushes it away.
Yeah.
So in that moment of it not happening, if we're able to relax our energy, which allows energy to circulate, which allows us to be in the flow. When we're in the flow, we're relaxed, we're available, we're open. In that openness, that's when we're receptive. That receptivity is key. So when we can relax, and then we cultivate joy in the moment of the challenge, the blockage, the thing not happening. When we can cultivate joy, we're no longer waiting. When we're no longer waiting for the thing to happen, that's the key. That's the key to shift things. Okay. The third reason that many times we hit a challenge roadblock, in that most of the time we miss, is we still haven't learned the lessons, the soul lesson that we need to learn, where we are with who we're with. And so the manifestation hasn't happened. We hit the challenge, we push, like it's not happening. The challenge, we push even more. But the challenge is this: all lessons are repeated until learned. So we don't realize that if we're a soul, we incarnate into this human experience in order to learn, to go, to evolve. Life is a classroom, university for our soul's evolution. If we haven't really learned the lessons where we are with who we're with, we're blocking our ability to like transcend to the next level of the simulation of life, the next level of manifestation. And we're keeping ourselves stuck at this level and dimension of experience. And so I tell people, step back. If things are, you keep hitting the same challenge, step back, relax, and look at what has my soul not learned here? What is my soul seeking to learn? What is my soul needing to learn? Why have I attracted this challenge and this experience in order to learn what? Because I think when we can step back and like learn, maybe it's learning how to love myself. Maybe it's learning how to respect my boundaries. Maybe it's learning how to, just fill in the blank.
Yeah.
When we can learn the lesson where we are with who we're with, that's the key that often unlocks the lock to
the reality,
the next level, the next reality. And so I think that's the key. And I think challenges really, challenges are challenges. Challenges are challenging, but challenges are a blessing in their own way. In that challenges, I think, are a gift. They just come gift wrapped with a certain packaging that we have to unwrap. And most of us, we don't want to unwrap it. And so the gift stays unwrapped.
You want to avoid the gift.
We don't want to avoid it, but you
don't want to deal with it.
You don't want to deal with it, but you got to unwrap the gift.
Yeah.
But we have to realize the challenge is actually the gift that is, when we face a challenge, I want people to hear this. Congratulations, because you have now earned the right to go to the next level of your reality. You've earned the right to go to the next level. And that challenge is just the graduation transcendence opportunity to sort of integrate the past phase, many times integrate a learning so that you can graduate to the next classroom, so that you can graduate to that next level. And so that challenge is actually seeking to take you inside to connect with a dimension of yourself that you may not have integrated fully, so that you can be ready for that next level of your life. And so bless the challenge. I think when we can reframe those challenges and embrace those challenges, many times at the end of a certain phase of my life, I face a challenge and it's right there. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, that means I'm getting close to the next level.
Oh, you're amazing.
Huh.
You're amazing. Like what's coming through you is fucking amazing. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. What you just, there's every time you say something, I think of another thing I want to ask you. So, and then I lose it. I'm like, okay, we're just in the moment. We're just flowing. And I know we're wrapping up soon, but my
It's all
question
good. We have
is,
time.
okay. So have you ever felt like you're at a plateau? Right?
I've been there, yes.
Okay. So maybe a plateau is not a big challenge, but it's a challenge to some degree, I would say. It's like, and I'm trying to figure out the plateau. And yet, I'm wondering, what is there to learn here? Because I too, when I get that lesson, or when I'm questioning, what's the lesson? What is there to learn here? What's right here for me? And then it clicks in literally within hours, the reality shifts and something brand new comes in. That's like, oh yes, got it. Okay, let's go next level of this existence, this plane, like next. Yeah. So then it's like, well, when I'm at a plateau and what to someone who can't figure out what the lesson is, someone that's aware enough to be like, what is the lesson here? What am I trying to learn here? Why is this not clicking for me? What's there for someone? What would you say?
If they're maybe in a plateau or they're not understanding the lesson.
Yeah, like for example, right now in business, I've created a certain level of success and a platform and a vehicle for transformation for other people that I'm so proud of. And my purpose is similar to yours in the way of my whole purpose is to help people wake up to the power that they have within themselves. And right now it looks like a coaching certification, and it brings so much joy and a purpose and abundance, not just to me, but to everyone that I get to serve through this vehicle. And I want more people to experience exactly that. So I'm trying to figure out what is the plateau, like what is the learning to unlock that next level, So
I think, look, I'll just throw out different things and that might also help different people. I think sometimes, let's go on the sort of mundane level first. Okay. Sometimes it could be that the strategy that somebody has, this is technical, the strategy someone has is not necessarily the right roadmap. That can be one thing.
You really believe in that? So that's like more of an external.
Yeah. So I'm just going to break down a few levels. So it could be firstly, like sometimes it's like, because I see some people like, I want to go from like LA to Chicago, and I'm going to drive, but I start driving down to Tijuana. It's gonna be a bit, you're gonna be a little bit, and so that could be just one level of things. So you just want to see, do I have the right strategy? Do I have the right roadmap? Do I have the right, framework and structures in place, right? Because no matter how much you sort of do the inner work, if you have the wrong roadmap, you're going to go in the wrong direction while doing the inner work. And so that's just one level. The other thing is, I think many times when we're kind of stuck from going to the next level, there usually is some unconscious, there can be some unconscious resistance to going to that next level, to allowing ourselves to be that big,
Mhm.
To allowing
Yeah.
ourselves to expand to that next level,
Mhm.
either because we're afraid of what that will mean to our life.
Mhm.
We're afraid of what that will mean to our relationship. We're afraid of what that will mean to letting go of family, connection, past. And so there's maybe an unconscious way of wanting to stay connected there, right?
Mhm.
Or there can be some self protection that is
Mhm.
in place. And so I would invite people to sit with, what is it that I'm protecting myself for?
Mhm.
Sometimes it can be another form of control,
Yes.
because to expand and grow means letting go of control in some way.
Mhm.
And it can be some form of, if I have it at this level, it's manageable. And I know where everything is and I'm in control.
Yeah.
But to expand can mean, letting go of control. And that can be scary as well. And so I think we just have to look at some of these
Yeah.
subtle layers that are inside of us and look at, well, what is this about?
That's
What's
really
going
good.
on? And just start being honest about, I say I want this, but I'm not quite going there. And is it control? Is it fear? Is it familiarity? Is it staying?
Yeah.
But usually there's some positive intention there that we just have to kind of like be honest with ourselves about, gently and
Mhm.
lovingly, so that we
Mhm.
can we can just kind of softly work with that part of ourselves. What usually doesn't work is like we just rip it out. uh, Usually there's a subtle protection that is in there to keep us safe in some way that we have to be gentle with, because it's serving a purpose. If I really blow up to the next level, I'm gonna lose control. I don't want to blow up to the next level, because what if it doesn't work, and then I'm going
Yeah.
to be disappointed. So if I stay here, then I won't be disappointed, because I
Yeah.
so there can be a form of control again there. So these are a few things that maybe
I love that.
we can think about.
Thank you for sharing that. How do you get out of the way so that you personally, like, what are your practices of kind of getting out of the way and allowing life to work through you, allowing surrender to work through you, allowing, you know, the universe and God to kind of take over?
More and more, my prayer these days is simply like, God, use me.
Yeah.
It's simple. Just use me in spite of myself. Like, use me, and just invoking, like,
Yeah.
surrender. So obviously meditating, taking time to connect, but I think it's just that invocation, that intention to be used by life for the highest intention of life. The deeper I go, it's funny, the deeper I go on my spiritual journey, the less choice I have,
Mm.
the freer I feel.
Mm.
The more in ego I am, or we are, the more choice I think I have, the less free I am. And
Mm.
so I've had to give up, in a certain way, this sense of, I don't want to say choice, the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
And in that surrender is like, the deeper I go, the less choice I have, because certain things that I used to be able to do, wanted to do, I realized are no longer a vibrational match for what my soul is seeking to express. And so it's been like certain places I could go, certain people I could hang out with, it's no longer aligned. And
Mhm.
so the choice has lessened, but the freedom has expanded. And so that has been a process of adjusting over years, of refining and just relaxing into, like you could say, my will and thy will becoming one. And
Ooh,
so and so
love that.
it's a deepening, of just surrendering and letting go. And one thing I've had to let go of is questioning. When I receive guidance, don't question. Turn left, turn left. Actually ask, well, why, could I have no idea. I don't know. So giving up this need to be intelligent, smart, all of that's just, I don't freaking know. Well, why are you going there? I don't know. Why did you? I don't know. And there's a quote in the Bible that says, in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a child. And you look at your little baby, right? They're just so innocent.
Yes.
They're just being. They don't know. They're just being. They
Mm.
don't know what good
Love
is,
that.
what bad is, what this is, what that is. They don't know what they're supposed to be, what they're not supposed to be. They're just being.
Mm.
And so for me, I've had to just like slowly just, I've stopped questioning this intuitive guidance. So when it says, go here, I go. When it says, do this, I do. And I look stupid sometimes. Well, cool, I thought you were intelligent. I have no idea. I don't know. But what I have found is with a little time, life in its infinite intelligence reveals itself. A quick story was, when COVID hit, okay, I had a house in Phoenix. I was in LA 20 some years. I ended up moving to Phoenix full time. Like, I had a house in Phoenix. I'd go there once a month, shoot content, rent it out, what have you. Never imagined I'd be living in Phoenix, but I grew to love Phoenix. I was there for an entire year. Amazing place. Fell in love with it. And, but leaving LA was really tough. But this inner thing said, give up everything, give up your apartment, give up your office, go to Phoenix. COVID time. I cried. I was like, I'm dying. Like the ego death, right? And so I'm in Phoenix for a year. My God, why the hell am I in Phoenix? I don't know. But there I am. I was in a relationship with a woman I thought I was going to marry. Didn't work out. Surrender, surrender, surrender. At the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, I get guidance. Go to Miami for 5 days. Okay. Well, I haven't been there in like 7 years. Go to Miami. I go to Miami. I'm like, this place is cool.
Yeah.
This is happening.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Go to Miami. I receive a guidance. Go to Miami for a month. Okay. I go back to Phoenix. Go to Miami for a month. I'm like, okay. Guidance to sell your house in Phoenix. Put my house on the market. The house sold for twice the amount I wanted it to sell for.
Oh my gosh.
Within a week. Following the flow. I have no idea why I'm going to Miami, but my house is gone. It's sold. Now I'm in Miami. Now I'm living in Miami. I'm thinking I'm going to be in Miami for the next 20 years. It's a vibe in Miami.
Yeah.
Love in Miami. About 7, 8 months later, I'm in Egypt doing an event. Go to Brazil. Same thing.
Do you hear it? Is it auditory?
It's a subtle thing, right? It's like Brazil. It just pops up. I don't know if it's hearing, sensing, feeling, but it just, Brazil, like, what? I've been to Brazil many times. I love it. Friends from there. Last time I was there, I did a 2-day event there, but I have no reason to be there. Don't question, Kute. Don't question. Book my ticket, fly back from Egypt, doing an event. I fly back on a Tuesday morning. That evening, I'm flying out to Brazil. Almost canceled because I was exhausted. Fly to Miami in the morning. I'm flying out in the evening.
After facilitating for however long.
9 days, right?
Yeah.
I'm about to cancel. Follow this thing. Long story short, Ashley, I end up in Brazil, sitting at a desk in an Airbnb overlooking the ocean, working on my computer. Like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm just going to work, be productive. I'm just in my apartment. Long story short, in 5 days, end up meeting my wife in Brazil. In the most, there's a whole nother episode, but it's in the most random way, meeting my wife in Brazil, in the most mundane opposite way. I thought I made up in my mind I was going to meet the person,
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that when we think we know, we don't. To truly be free, you have to give up the need to know and the idea that you don't know, because sometimes what you think is not. And when you think is not,
is.
Is
that why Buddha says, I don't know?
I don't know. And that's where I've come to. I don't know, but something knows. And that something is what we are. And when we can surrender to that intelligence, it will guide you. It will lead you. It will create through you. It will use you. It will manifest through you. It will vibrate through you. It will miracle through you. And that's when the magic happens. And I think, case in point, we all want surrender. Because there might be some folks going, well, I don't know that. I'm going to prove the point in the next 30 seconds. We all want surrender. We've all experienced surrender. If everyone just takes a moment and you just imagine your most, I don't say it doesn't have to be the most, but a beautiful sexual experience, lovemaking experience that you've had with your lover, with your husband, with your spouse, where you made love, this beautiful sexual encounter, you were kissing, loving, energy exchanging, things were moving, you were passionately embracing. What made it? I'm going to ask everyone, what made it so ecstatic and blissful? Was it that you came to the lovemaking experience with an iPad and a business plan of, okay, honey, for the next 2 hours, we're going to make love, but minute one, I want you to just exactly at like 22 centimeters, lie on the bed, and then turn to your right. Actually, at 2 minutes, you're going to kiss me on the cheek 17 times. Then you're going to move. What made it ecstatic? You surrendered.
Yeah.
You surrendered. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't have entire sexual lovemaking encounters scripted out. What if you made love, to the person you love, and every damn time it was the same for the next 20 years? What makes it so blissful is you don't know. You surrender. You're just following the energy and
You
the love.
surrender to the connection.
What if we lived life
like
that way? That's for me the invitation.
Making love to life.
Making love to life.
Your next book. Well, wait, I just have to know, what was the Miami about?
Amazing question.
Your wife was from there. Your wife lived in Miami.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
You're good. This is the question. So I was like, what the F is Miami about? I had to move my ass from LA to Phoenix to Miami. And now I'm back in LA, full circle.
Yeah.
What the hell is Miami about? Does it make sense? I realized if I wasn't living in Miami, I wouldn't have gone to Brazil. Because on some level, Miami was like 7 hours to Brazil.
Oh.
Possibly if I was in LA, it's like 22 hours to get there. So it's almost like the universe knew I had to be close enough for it to click in my brain, for me to be like, yeah, I can just catch a nonstop flight to Miami. It's only 7 hours. Let's go. And so I had to go through, like, the universe is like a cosmic chess player that moves things into place.
How does it know? How does it know?
It knows. The same intelligence that breathes you is breathing me. It knows what we need. It is what we are. It is the source of life and creation. It's beating your heart right now. It's beating my heart right now. Trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of cells interacting, moving, interacting. It knows. Surrender to that. So I realized, wow, I see why I had to go to Miami. I see. And there's an intelligence of life, and so surrender's the password to freedom.
Oof. Wow. This was so amazing. So
fun.
I'm like, can you come back so we can do a part
Let's
2?
Do it. Anytime.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And I'm sure your wife has a whole other side to her story of how it happened too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. You're amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for unleashing and giving everything on this episode. It was so powerful, and you actually make me feel like it's the last couple of days have been challenging for me, and I feel re-energized, reinvigorated, and like you are making me remember that life it's so holy. It's so holy. Everything is holy. And it's just it's so beautiful. High five. Yeah. Thank you for that so much. I could cry. Okay. So 2 more questions. And
let's go for it.
Okay. It's 111 by you and it's 444 by me right now on the clock. Yeah. Okay. So have you done plant medicine on your journey?
In my events, or I don't do plant medicine in my events. I have done it many years ago. I have.
Okay. I was just curious.
Don't know if there's a question about that.
No, I was just wondering, like, did that help you awaken to these?
I have some thoughts about plant medicine
Okay.
in certain ways. And here's my thought. I think that plants are holy and plants are sacred.
Mhm.
And in indigenous sacred cultures, plants are a vibration and plants are a frequency that have an intelligence that in sacred context and culture and right relationship can be transformative in nature
Yes,
if done with that right intention and context ceremonially.
I agree.
The challenge I see, if I'm honest, with a lot of modern Western culture is I feel as though they're being a bit taken out of context, and the relationship with plant medicine is becoming a bit limited in that people are replacing, you know, other external addictions with their relationship with plant medicine. And that's where I see a challenge in the relationship with it. Oh, I got this thing. Let me do plant medicine. Let me do the plant medicine. Look for plant medicine, rather than also realizing that the medicine, you are the medicine.
You are the
That
medicine.
frequency is inside of you. You see, when people do plant medicine, I think it can create a beautiful opening. Now, I don't think everybody should do plant medicine. I don't believe everybody's psyche, nervous system, mind is geared towards plant medicine and should be doing it. And when you do plant medicine, it can be sometimes like taking a helicopter to the top of the mountain to see the vista. The challenge is when people take the helicopter, they see the vista, maybe now they think they're enlightened and they're not, because they come back to their everyday life and they haven't done the mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, developmental, therapeutic work to integrate the journey. And now they're relying on that thing outside of themselves to, like, I want to go to the mountaintop. I want to take a quick hack to the mountaintop. But the truth is, I think spiritual work requires daily devotion and daily work, that you can't hack your way there, to really integrate into your nervous system. If you climb the mountain and you do the decades and the daily work to climb the mountain, you develop the daily mental, emotional, psychological stamina, so that when the storms hit,
you're prepared.
You have the stamina to climb the mountain. The challenge is when people don't do that daily work, when the storms hit, you had a vision, but you didn't do the work. You don't have the stamina to climb the mountain. And there's the challenge. And so I think that right context, right relationship, right understanding, it has a place. But I really feel as though we shouldn't replace it with the direct access to the infinite reality inside of us. Like, we are the medicine, and those frequencies are available inside of us completely right now, activatable if we're open. And sometimes we so look outside that we don't go inside to activate it because we're looking outside. And it's a relationship thing. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for sharing that. That's beautifully said and definitely resonates.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And what makes Kute a badass manifester?
I don't know if I'm a badass manifester. I'll be honest. I think for me, the key more and more is surrender.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's the more I surrender, the more life unfolds. The more life unfolds in ways that I could not have planned or imagined. And so I don't feel like I am the manifester. I feel like the more I surrender, the more life manifests. It's life that is manifesting, life that is manifesting through me. And it's like Kute is bringing his vehicle into sync with the infinite flow of life. And that's when, like, life is manifesting and the magic happens, and so that's what I'm seeing. Because then it's not limited to like Kute. And so
Everything
these days,
is no, go ahead.
These days, when I say a prayer, it's more like, okay, I'm not saying don't have, like, I love to have this, create this, but it's always like, okay, I hold it lightly, I do my best to catch the vision, of what life wants to express, but I hold it lightly and always like this or something better, this or
Yeah.
something higher, like whatever's higher. And so I think when we can just be open without limitations, that's when the magic happens.
Mm. You are magic. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It was amazing. So inspirational to be in your energy and to share this time with you, this time and space with you. Truly. Thank you.
The pleasure.
So where can everyone connect with you? Stalk you out, listen to all your podcasts. I know you have an amazing podcast called Soul Talk.
Yeah, a couple of ways. Yeah, Soul Talk, the podcast.
Yep.
I think the book, The Magic of Surrender, people can
Yes.
check out the book, get it on Amazon, the paperback. If people want to go deeper, twice a year, I do a very special event to Bali. It's a 12-day deep dive. It's my deepest work where I kind of uncondition people and help people connect to their true essence and catapult them forward in the world. It's a really profound process. I've done 20 of these events in 10 years. This is my last year doing it. So depending when people listen to this, July the 28th to August the 8th, December the 5th through the 16th. And so www.boundlessblissbali.com. My main website, Kute Blackson. People can find me there. Instagram, Kute Blackson, Facebook, Kute Love Now.
Wow. I would love to go to your event.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
That would be so amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And who knows, maybe we'll bring you back for part 2 because I know that we could keep going.
Anytime. You say the word.
Okay. You're amazing. Thank you all for listening. Tag us on Instagram. Let us know your favorite parts. I know you might actually write a book of all the favorite parts, so it's okay. Tag us anyway. Write it all down. Share it with us. We can't wait to hear it. Thank you so much. See you on next week's episode. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.